Today's video is going to be a follow-up from my last video, which, if you missed it, was basically me just trying to decide on some brand new tires for my Toyota Tacoma. Now, I knew I wanted my new set of tires to be BFGoodrich KO2 tires, which I'll explain why in this video. But the real decision I was trying to make, and I was kind of mulling over in the last video, was what size do I go with? Do I go with a 285/70 R17 or stick with the existing size I had on my truck, 265/70 R17? I read your comments on my last video, and there were a lot of good points and arguments for either tire, but really I did a lot of reflecting and a lot of thinking about what tire was gonna best suit my needs, and I ended up making a decision on going with the 265s. So of course, that's the smaller of the two tires, and I know what a lot of you guys are probably thinking. Perhaps this was an unpopular decision because I know running the larger tire would have maybe been cooler for videos and stuff. And then also, I previously ran the 265 size tires, so nothing really changed except I got a new set of tires. So I could see how this might be the boring decision. But I have my reasons, which I'm gonna do my best to explain in this video. And I also want you guys to know I have some projects coming up that will involve 285 size tires, so there's gonna be more 285 content in the future. But yeah, in this video, I'm gonna do my best to explain my reasoning of picking the 265 size because I think it fit my application better. Maybe a lot of you guys out there also daily drive your trucks and you're trying to decide between these two tire sizes. I also in this video want to discuss why I stuck with the BFGoodrich brand and KO2 tire. Did I even consider any other tires? BFGoodrich KO2s were what I had on my truck for the first 50,000 miles and 4 years, so unless I was sponsored by BFG, which I'm not, although that would be really cool, there must be something about these tires I like, even though they definitely do have a few flaws. And then the last thing I want to talk about in this video is I've been driving for a week with my brand new tires, which again are the exact same as my old tires. And to my surprise, or maybe it's not a surprise because driving on worn tires feels a lot different than driving on new tires, I have felt quite a big difference. And I want to talk about that because maybe it can speak to how these tires wear over time, what you can expect. Over time, how do they feel from a drivability standpoint? In this video, I also thought it would be a good opportunity to show you guys a cool resource I found that can help if you're trying to figure out if certain wheels, tires, and suspension setups can work on your own Tacoma. One of the first reasons I picked the 265 over the 285 was that I had really high confidence that this size tire with pretty much any wheel I wanted to run would fit on my truck. Now I took the wheel and tire off my truck temporarily to show you that if you don't know, on this truck, I have a suspension lift. It's a Fox Performance Elite Series shock. And with it, last I measured, I believe I have 1.7 inches of lift up here in the front. Not every single 285 setup would fit, even though my truck is lifted almost 2 inches. This is because tire fitment is not just about the tire size and about how much lift you have. You also have to factor in wheel offset. A wheel with a 0 offset, meaning it sits flush and the wheel and tire doesn't poke out more towards the street or inwards towards the truck, or a wheel with a positive offset, which is a wheel and tire combo that sit more inside the truck. Like this wheel right here, this is a positive 4 offset wheel with a 285 and nearly 2-inch lift would fit on my truck. But if I had that same 285/70 R17 size tire and a wheel with a much more negative offset, my lift might not be enough to accommodate that setup in the front to where I wouldn't get any rubbing on full turns. Even though my plan was to stick with these positive offset wheels, which when combined with the 285s and my lift, probably would have fit on my truck just fine, Unless I wanted to do a body mount chop or a cab mount chop, I would have had to stick with 0 offset or positive offset wheels, which this was not a huge factor because again, I stuck with these wheels, but I wanted to mention it in case that is something that you guys are considering. I get a lot of comments here on my channel and also Instagram DMs and emails about people asking if some specific tire size with some other specific wheel and a specific suspension setup will all fit together and work on their Tacomas without rubbing and not having to do any chopping or removing mud flaps. And unfortunately, most of the time I can't answer that question with confidence because I just don't know. But I want to show you guys real quick a really good resource to turn to if you find yourself asking that question about your own Tacoma. So real quick, go grab your laptop. I'm going to grab my laptop and I'll show you. Go online to Trail Built Off-Road Search Gallery and then filter for Toyota Tacoma, search. And look, you guys, there are hundreds of Toyota Tacomas, all with different wheel, tire, and suspension setups. It's a great database with pictures and information. Look, if we click on one right here, this 2020 Toyota Tacoma, we've got pictures of it. We can see what tires they're running, what wheels they're running, what sort of suspension modifications they have. And you can see here that there's information about fitment. So even though this person had a 2-inch leveling kit with their 33-inch tires and their 17 by 9-inch wheels with a -12 offset, they needed to trim some of their plastic and it's got a slight rub at full turn. So that's just one example of literally hundreds. And then there's even these specific details on the Trail Built website where you can select how much rubbing you want. No rubbing or scrubbing, slight rub at full turn, rubs, and then rubs like crazy, but who cares? That's actually pretty funny. This is cool. They even have the stance if you want something super aggressive or something more like my truck, flush, or maybe my truck falls under hella flush, or a really aggressive stance. Hopefully the Trail Built gallery here helps you guys answer some of your questions if you're looking around. I know I spent a lot of time looking at this and playing around with the filters. So much so that actually I ended up ordering these 265 size tires from the Trail Built website, which by the way, if you're gonna buy tires online, I highly recommend because they have free shipping to your house. And also, while I was considering it but didn't exercise this option, if you decide to buy wheels and tires, they will mount and balance them for you as well, which I think is really cool. But yeah, this website is a great resource to look at because you can see what other people have done, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and how things look. Getting back to why I picked these 265s over the 285s, the big reason is because of where my tires spend the most time. While I love playing in the dirt every few weekends, you guys see me drive my truck 99% on the pavement, so naturally the smaller choice was probably the smarter in the long run since I'm planning on keeping this truck forever. This truck is my daily driver for the foreseeable future, and that's ultimately what drove this decision. It's also what drove me to get a C load rated tire if you're curious about that. I know there were comments about that on my last video. A C load rating is a good compromise for me because I don't tow or carry a heavy load. For people who ask me what load range I recommend for the Toyota Tacoma, if you're in a similar situation where you don't really tow, you daily drive, I am pretty adamant about not recommending an E load rated tire if you can, because if you ran that extra load rating when you didn't need to, you're gonna have a lot more rotating weight. That's gonna be poor acceleration and braking when you could just get away with a C load range tire. This is also why I couldn't step up to a 275 if I wanted to stay in the KO2 family because it's only offered in the E load, not C, which is what I wanted. Now, why do I love the KO2 so much that I decided to repeat buy them? Let me roll in my old tire, my one I drove over 50,000 miles on, and show you the side-by-side comparison to explain why. The these old tires did their job, and they did it well for over 50,000 miles for me. You can even see there's quite a bit of life left on these tires as well. I did get a single puncture in one tire, and this is exactly the tire that got punctured, so you can see it's actually patched here. Although this happened really early on, I think only like 5,000 miles in, and I was worried if I would get a lot of punctures, but to my delight, this was the only one, which is great. Now there was some really minor chunking. There's a tiny little chunk missing from the tread block here, most likely due to off-road use. All four of my tires had some chunks missing from a couple of the treads if you looked really closely, but I can't really fault the KO2 for that though, because that's more so just the nature of going off-roading. Obviously, if we look at the brand new tires, we can see the tread blocks are much larger, but not bad for 50K. A tire with good on-road performance like the KO2, minus a couple of minor things that I'll talk about in a minute, plus the off-road benefits, and on top of all of that, the condition that I experienced after 50,000 miles of driving, I'm very impressed with this tire. And you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which is why my new ones are the same. But seriously, after this experience, I've got to say I'm brand loyal to BFG for all-terrain tires. Not on this Tacoma, but on my very first vehicle, I had a set of Yokohamas that I was really happy with. I also really like and have heard good things about the brand Toyo. And I thought to myself, you know, if these KO2s don't pan out, then I'll go for a set of Toyo AT3s maybe, or the Yokohama Geolanders. But personally, as I've been saying, these tires are just more than I could have ever hoped for my Tacoma, so I stuck with them. You know, it's kind of like the same way I'm brand loyal to Toyota. My family has had lots of different Toyotas, and we've never had really a bad experience with any. That's not to say that we don't also like other brands, like we also have really liked Lexus, for example. Well, I guess Lexus kind of technically is the same brand, but Honda would be another example. But out of all the vehicle brands, Toyota has outperformed for us, and that's why we've stuck with them. Okay, so I've been driving with my brand new tires for a week now, and like I said earlier in the video, I could feel a difference between driving with these and my old tires, which were the exact same, but just worn. I think this is worth talking about in this video because it taught me how a KO2 performs exactly as it wears over time. Now, of course, this is something I couldn't have known until I got a new set of tires on this exact same truck, because it's not like day by day you can really feel those differences. It's really differences that build up over time. And of course, this isn't isolated to just the KO2 tire. I'm sure similar things happen when other brands of tire wear as well, but this is what I experienced. Braking feels really good in these new tires, and it wasn't even like bad in my worn tires or anything. But again, that was just a big difference I felt. All the times I've talked in my videos about the one disadvantage of KO2s being pretty bad when it rains outside, it seems like that can at least somewhat be attributed to them wearing over time. I'm actually a little bit shocked seeing my gas mileage go down quite a bit with brand new tires versus worn ones. Even though my old ones are worn, I would assume the weight is similar, which is what really attributes to gas mileage. But nonetheless, it's kind of interesting, and I guess it's good information to know if you're also looking into getting a KO2 tire. I feel like I dumped a lot of tire information in this video when it comes to BFGoodrich KO2s and the Toyota Tacoma, so I hope at least some of the information was useful if you made it this far. I want to honestly know what you guys think of my decision. Should I have moved up to 285? Again, those 285s you saw in my last video, I have kept and I'm doing some projects with them, so I'll be making more content about the 285s shortly in the future. I also hope that the Trail Built Off-Road website I mentioned earlier on in the video helps you guys out if you're looking at different sorts of combinations of wheels, suspension, and tires. I'll have all of that linked down below, but I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you want to connect more with me, you can follow me on my Instagram. It is at ChloeQOTaco, and I post more on there in real time. But other than that, I hope I will see you guys in the next video. The next one, I promise, is going to be a really exciting one. It's one that I've kind of waited a couple of years to do, and I've got a lot of video requests about it, so I hope you guys will be excited. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.